Good day. I'm Mark Zambon, 30 years old. I live in San Diego, California. I'm here for a 10-day Iyengar yoga intensive being held by Geeta Iyengar here in Pune, India. I was a United States Marine, so a soldier of the sea, if you will, from my home country, and was injured several times on the battlefield. The last injury being a bomb blast in Afghanistan that took both my legs. Approximately 2 months after I was injured in an explosion in Afghanistan, I was conducting my rehabilitation at a hospital in California, and a good friend that I met there, who's a veteran of the Vietnam War, told me that his wife and her girlfriend teach Iyengar yoga in the physical therapy room. It's every Tuesday at noon, and he told me that combat veterans really take to the practice of Iyengar yoga because it touches a very sort of similar space in the experience of life. I was like, all right, trusted the man. So popped in and got to practice my first Iyengar yoga only about 2 months after I'd lost my legs, and got in an assisted Shirsasana headstand, and it felt incredible to be upside down on my head. I remember the phantom limb pain I was feeling at the time in my legs went away, as I went upside down. And at the same time, I remember feeling how strange it felt to be upside down. And then also that's around the same time was when I got my first prosthetic or mechanical legs. And I remember the sensation of feeling how strange it both felt to be upside down on my head and also to be wearing these mechanical legs. But I saw that with Shirsasana, the more I practiced, the more I put into it, the better I could do it until, I could hold a Shirsasana on my own correctly. And I figured, well, hey, if I can practice and work hard on holding Shirsasana, the same is true with my prosthetics. And, I applied that same mentality towards, training hard in my prosthetics, which led me to complete my first recovery goal, a year and a half after I was blown up. I climbed Africa's Mount Kilimanjaro and got in Shirsasana on top of that mountain. So, the state of mind after I was involved in an explosion, it was a very wild change in the most basic and normal things. A task as simple and organic to life as getting into bed at nighttime, which ever since I was a little kid, ever since I could walk, was simply just like walking into bed, getting under the blankets, putting my head on a pillow and going to sleep. But now, once I got out of the hospital, what it meant for me to even get into bed, I was in a cast in my left arm because the ulnar bone got broken, skin had gotten blown off, and I only had use of one limb, so I was in a wheelchair that was battery powered, and how I would control it would be pushing a lever forward or backward or left or right. And so now the task of getting into bed was pressing my lever on my wheelchair, going into a bedroom in this massive battery-powered motor wheelchair, going up to the foot of the bed, and then falling off my chair onto the bed, and then I'd have to roll time and time and time again to get to the pillow, and now I'm ready to sleep, ready to go to bed. But being that I lost about a third of my body, what that is that surface area. So, how the body cools itself is by exposing the skin to air, sweat gets in contact with the air, and then that produces a cooling effect and cools the body. Meanwhile, I just lost, 30% of the body's surface area, so I lost that much of my body's ability to cool itself. So then, this task of going to bed, not only is it so different and difficult now to get in bed, but but now I'm sweating all through the night because I've less surface area for my body to cool itself. So every time I did any activity that I had done before I was injured for the first time again after I was injured was a tremendous shock because it was done totally different and usually to a lesser and much more difficult extent. So my mindset shortly after I was injured was one that was very oppressed, and very challenged, and faced with many difficulties. Not just in that sense, but the incredible pain of an injury like that, the whole new change to my self-image, and all these things. So where Iyengar Yoga stepped in and really has been a great blessing is that in its practice, in all the asanas or poses, you put your body in proper alignment, and you're doing headstands and shoulder stands and all these different variations. And the product of that is it produces good physical health. So my practice of Iyengar Yoga in combination with all the hard training I was doing in prosthetic legs, restored abilities for me, restored a walking ability, restored a mountain climbing ability, restored a driving a motor vehicle ability. And it was the practice of Iyengar that, all the time when I'm beating my body up, training almost every day in the week, lifting weights, swimming in pools, hiking, mountaineering, beating my body up. It was the 3 to 4 Iyengar yoga practices a week where I'm putting my body in proper alignment in all these poses that allowed it to properly heal. And then on top of that, the mental side of the Iyengar yoga practice, it produces just a sensation of a whole body wellness where one feels in a state of great health. Your senses are sharpened, your vision, your smell, your hearing, and just a feeling of great well-being. So it was the combination of all this, and Iyengar Yoga was a pillar, a key of this, that produced my rehabilitation, and that basically has brought me to the point where I am now, almost 4 years later, where I've worked through this process of recovery and of grievance, and have accepted my injury, and realized that I'm still very fortunate to be here, to be alive, that I can be here in Pune, India at this moment, and enriching my abilities and knowledge of Iyengar Yoga, and making new friends, and being a part of the greater Iyengar Yoga community, and demonstrating the power of this yoga practice, and telling other people about it, and not just for people who are injured or ill or have suffered debilitating diseases or injuries, but everybody. Our physical health is one of the most important things in life, and you never realize the importance of it until you lose it or the threat of losing it is present. So that's the gift that Iyengar Yoga offers. It offers a practitioner the craft and chance to practice something that creates and maintains their good physical and mental health. And I recommend it wholeheartedly to anyone, especially new students. So I've been practicing Iyengar Yoga for 3.5 years, and recently I was training as a swimmer, both open water in the ocean and then also in the pool training for the Paralympics. But this last summer in July, on a breaststroke, I injured the long head of the biceps tendon on a breaststroke, and it popped and snapped in the water, and I've been healing it since July, and just last month, in the month of November, um, I realized that I had the opportunity and the time and place to travel to India, and I've wanted to travel to India for quite some time. It's been a place that I've desired to travel to ever since I was a teenager, just attracted to the colors and the spice and the warmth and the energy of the country that I've saw on television and in books and in meeting Indian people in the United States and abroad. Um, so I talked with my wife about it, and she agreed that I could come. And I talked to my yoga teacher, and I was like, hey, I have the opportunity right now to do a trip to India. And she told me that Geeta Iyengar was celebrating her 70th birthday with a 10-day yoga intensive in Pune the next month, which is now in December. And, everything just lined up. I went to Los Angeles, where I interfaced with a business that works with the Indian consulate in San Francisco, California. So I was able to get my visa in approximately 15 days. I paid for the course registration, purchased a flight, got a hotel, arranged for a cab from Bombay to Pune, and hopped on a flight to come out here. Been very excited to be here, to realize a dream of traveling to India since I was a young man, and then also to study with the best Iyengar teachers in the world, and to meet so many other Iyengar yoga practitioners. So today is December 9th, and we're 9 days into the 10-day intensive being instructed by Geeta Iyengar, and learned quite a bit of information and material has been presented by Geeta, and I've been writing notes pretty fervently after all the classes. I have to say that the two things that I'm most excited about that I've come to learn in the 9 days we've been practicing so far. First is the pranayama, and as I've only been practicing Iyengar for about 3.5 years, what I learned is that Iyengar students really have to get a good grasp of properly executing the asanas, the poses, before they're able to learn the pranayama. So they need to have correct control of their body before they can practice the pranayama. And now that I've gotten to practice my first pranayama exercise in the last 3 days, it's almost a new facet or side of the practice that I've been exposed to. And they're breathing drills where we're in either sitting or recline poses, and we're keeping the chest open and inhaling into the chest and holding it, and then exhaling the belly, but maintaining this posture in the chest. And Birju, one of the teachers, was explaining how when you're exhaling, you're pressing, you're exposing, you're showing, expressing your consciousness out, and as your exhale that goes back in, the consciousness from out comes back in, and it's quite apparent in the pranayama, the exercises. And although the practice of the pranayama is not easy, it's very challenging. At the end of all these pranayama drills, I feel just like a tranquility in my mind, just a wonderful peace of mind, and I'm quite excited to take what I've learned here in the pranayama, take that back home and practice it and study it, and read further on BKS Iyengar's book Light on Pranayama, and learn more in that respect. And secondly, I've also learned quite a bit more of the asanas. We're holding the asanas for quite some time, and a lot of the asanas we're realizing personally that the longer you hold it with the intelligence of your mind, your body, and you're doing your best to hold it, you're trying as hard as you can, the more you hold that and breathe into it, the more open you become, and the more into the pose, and the stronger the positive physical effect of the pose becomes. And I really feel like my practice of Iyengar yoga is becoming enriched with that. So, quite excited to bring that home. And there's a large population of combat injured service members, men and women that lost their legs, their arms, hands, feet, bad brain injuries, or post-traumatic stress. And we've learned a lot here through doctors and through practice that Iyengar yoga has a very powerful effect for individuals in those circumstances. So if it's on my path to learn teacher training and then to bring this Iyengar yoga to those circles of injured people, then it would be my honor to do so. A great privilege. All right, so after being an Iyengar yoga student for 3.5 years, I've heard quite a few people, my friends included, and from what we've heard all over the world, when people are asked if they'd like to try out a yoga class, they always say that, oh, I'm too stiff, or I can't bend, I can't touch my toes, or whatever the case may be, and they think they're disadvantaged because of that. But let me ask you this: when you bend forward, and if you can't touch your toes, and you reach hard and you try to, what do you feel? Do you feel anything? You probably feel pain, right? And that pain, if you feel that, that's being aware of your body. And body awareness is a main pursuit of Iyengar yoga. So, some people are super flexible and can get in any sort of pose, touch their toes, no problem. It's a basic cake for them. They're flexible like a rubber band, and I would say that it's those people that are at a disadvantage because they have to work so much more hard to find that body awareness. The success of yoga is not judged on how well you can touch your toes or how flexible or how strong you are. Being flexible and being supple or strong are important in yoga, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is learning your body and learning body awareness. So if you can't twist, if you can't touch your toes, then you're already a step ahead because you can get your body awareness from you in that. And if you don't believe me, try it out. All right, I've lost my legs in a bomb blast. I've been blown up 5 times. I'm a man, and I'm telling you this, that as a benefit of Iyengar yoga, you will learn your body more. You will become much more aware of it, and it creates good physical health. And who doesn't want that?